Hi guys, I'm Lisa. Welcome back to the channel. NASA told me that I couldn't request reasonable accommodation until I was diagnosed with a covered disability. It took me about 2 years to get that diagnosis. I had a very flexible schedule, and I used that to get by in the meantime, and as soon as I could, I requested reasonable accommodation. My boss and NASA not only refused to discuss it, they actually took away my flexible schedule and heaped a bunch of extra expectations on me. Expectations that were designed to make me fail. I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So today I want to talk about handling expectations, ours and other people's. Employers love to characterize those of us who fight illegal discrimination as a bunch of slackers who are out for an easy buck. I think that's why the EEOC process is stacked in their favor, because of their constant whining about that. Our odds of winning anything are in the single digits, and that not only discourages casual discrimination claims, it also discourages a lot of valid discrimination claims. In real life, a discrimination claim isn't quite the cash cow that they'd like to make it out to be. These fights are long, stressful, and expensive, and our chances of winning are terrible. Let's be honest, if you want to get rich quick, your chances are better in Vegas than taking your employer to court. Since I started this channel, I've heard a lot of your stories, and I've heard a handful of stories from people who did have performance or conduct problems before they claimed discrimination. But the overwhelming majority of us have strong performance records at the outset, and you don't get a strong performance record by being a slacker. You get it by doing whatever you have to make your boss happy and meet their expectations. But when our boss and our employer start heaping on more expectations than we can handle, it's time to jump off that hamster wheel and start thinking about how we want to spend our energy. Their escalating expectations are a sign that we can't make them happy no matter how hard we try. Knowing that can free us up to let go of their unrealistic expectations and take care of ourselves for a change. Quiet quitting is all the rage these days. I quiet quit before it was cool. When my boss and NASA refused to reasonably accommodate me and it became clear that I wasn't going to get any help from them, I started managing my energy like I manage my money, as a limited resource, and I economized. Just like with my budget, I looked at the places where I needed to spend my energy. It was a long list. My health, my marriage, our kids and grandkids, my sister, and my job. A lot of other things didn't make the cut anymore. I couldn't afford them. At work, rather than continuing to give my boss the 125% that she was used to, I consciously backed off to giving just 100%. I met my deadlines, I was cordial, respectful of her position, and I did good work. But I stopped giving her and NASA anything beyond what was required. I learned to draw very clear boundaries around my job in a way that was professional, but clear. I stuck to doing what was required. And those requirements were defined by my position description, federal HR policy, our collective bargaining agreement, and federal law. I still fully met the expectations of my position. According to my performance ratings, I continued to exceed those expectations. I was able to do it by refusing to squander my precious energy chasing after my boss's whims. For example, this one time when my boss took one of my jobs and gave it to a new person, she gave them all the authority that it took to do that job, which is how it should be. But then she told me that even though they were in charge, she was still holding me accountable. That night when I was complaining to Doug about it, he said, "What does that even mean?" I didn't know. So the next day I asked her. I wasn't ugly or sarcastic, but I was direct. "Yesterday you told me that you're holding me accountable for this other person's work. I don't know what that means. Can you please clarify what your expectations of me are?" She didn't clarify, and I didn't really expect her to. Just asking a question got me off the hook, so I didn't have to waste my energy worrying about someone else's work. Some bosses aren't satisfied with 100%. That's why quiet quitting has a counterpart, quiet firing. In the discrimination arena, we have another name for it, retaliation. Watch for it, and when you see it start to happen, know that no matter what you do, you can't make them happy. In that situation, I suggest spending all your energy documenting what they're up to. I found that way more beneficial than trying to placate them. No matter how much we know that 100% should be enough, most of us still feel guilty for not giving more. But before you get too carried away with the guilt, don't forget that we can't make anybody happy all the time. Thinking of it outside a professional context put things in perspective for me. I love my family and I always want to make them happy. But as much as I love them, I can't always do that. I'm a 60-something-year-old woman with a lot of health challenges, physical and mental. I can't give them everything that I want to. And what I can give them varies a lot from day to day. We get to decide what we give based on what we can give. Of course, it's nice when the other person understands that and accepts our limitations. But whether they do or they don't, all we can do is all we can do. Sometimes that might not be enough for them, but it has to be enough for us. We're human. We don't just have to worry about what other people expect of us. We also have to watch out for what we expect of us and what we expect of other people. For instance, recently when my sister passed away, I had an experience with a family member who wanted more from me than I could give. I couldn't afford to beat myself up for not doing it their way, at a time in my life when I was still reeling from a tremendous loss. I had to let go of their expectations and mine. It really hurt me when I realized that I had disappointed them, but all I could do was all I could do. Unfortunately, freeing ourselves of expectations doesn't mean that there are never going to be any consequences for falling short. My family member was still disappointed in me, and I had to accept that. And I had to let go of my own expectations that they understand me in that situation. They're human too. That's real life, and it has to be okay. We're all fallible. It's impossible for us to meet anyone's expectations all the time. And it's just as impossible for other people to always meet our expectations. Learning to let go of all that means learning to take care of our own feelings and let other people do the same thing. We're all human, and it's like we all have a mind of our own. That's all I got for you this week, guys. I'll see you again next week. Till then, take care and hang in. Bye, smart.